Okay, side note, we had a video shoot yesterday, and I had to fake run a bunch of times. I'm so sore from fake running. This body is in terrible shape. I have to get fit so I can better fight my toddler. That sounds bad. Welcome to a new episode of the Holy Mess Podcast. I'm Joy.
And I'm Bekah.
If you think you're a mess, you are not alone. We're here to talk about the things of life through the lens of faith. Whether it's pop culture or the things that stress us out, we're going to find the holy moments in all of it.
Today we're going to talk about Joy losing her cool, believe it or not. The most awkward moment possibly of my entire life. And a really great therapy tool that Joy learned for if you feel like you're just heading into a rough season of life. But first, our messy moment of the week. Joy, what's yours?
If you think you're the only person that deals with anger, irony, my name's Joy, and I sometimes do.
If you were to have me rank the people in this building, angriest to least angry, I would put you in the bottom 3 for sure.
That makes me feel good.
So if you lost your cool, it's not the norm for you.
It is not the norm, but I have heard the saying that marriage shows you how selfish you are, but parenting shows you how angry you are.
Oh.
Which makes me feel better because I wasn't an angry person until I had a kid. And I for sure didn't get angry until he's now toddler age and he can physically fight me.
First of all, you could take a toddler, right?
Girl, you haven't seen. Okay, side note, we had a video shoot yesterday, and I had to fake run a bunch of times. I'm so sore from fake running. This body is in terrible shape. I have to get fit so I can better fight my toddler. That sounds bad, but you for good things. So what happened was I was trying to brush his teeth before bed, and that's a non-negotiable, right? I don't want him to have cavities like my West Virginia brother did growing up. He had a silver tooth at age 2 because we couldn't get the toothbrush in his mouth. So it's a non-negotiable, but I have to sometimes pin him to the ground while he's screaming and shove it in his mouth. Most of the time. It's really bad. I've tried a lot of things. So we did that. I'm the bedtime person. And then after that, I needed to cut his fingernails and toenails.
Oh, no. Why those two things at the same time?
I think, because I'd been trying to cut his fingernails and toenails for a long time. And my strategy used to be ninja-like crawl in while he's sleeping. But even now, he won't let me. He's asleep and he pulls his hand away or jerks his foot. He does not stay still. And I will go in with a flashlight in my mouth. No joke, Bekah.
Oh, my goodness.
That's how hard it is. So now I just have to hold his foot or hand really tight and just try to do it, and he screams and fights me. So Hunter, my husband, came up with, bedtime bottle, and my son was kicking me as hard as he could while I was holding on to one of his feet, and I just was I can't take it anymore! And my head almost popped off. And that would have been embarrassing enough, but then my husband, because I'm not normally like that, was girl, we cannot act like this in front of our son. That's a bad example.
But you already know that.
Of course. I already felt so much shame that I lost my temper in front of my kid. But then to have my husband double shame me and be we can't do this. No more of this. I was ugh. So I did what any normal person would do. I hid in my room and I scrolled on social media. I knew after I got my son to sleep that I probably should go talk to my husband or even process what happened.
Sure.
But I didn't want to. I just wanted to hide. And I think that's what shame does to us. And so eventually I heard my husband coming up the stairs and I was I don't even want to see him. And he was Joy? Because when I say I was hiding, Bekah, I was hiding down between my bed and the wall.
Oh my goodness.
There's room there, but I was just sitting on the floor. I didn't want anyone to see me. And my husband and I had a conversation in which I cried through most of it, but I just realized that shame is so dangerous because I felt it stronger than I have in a long time.
Interesting.
And it makes you hide instead of get to the root of what's going on.
Yeah. And I wonder, too, because it was shame, but it's interesting because all of us have our different processing styles, right? Are you the kind of person that usually has to walk away from a situation before you can process it with someone?
I should probably know that. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't really know.
So in this instant, it was shame, and maybe the best thing to do would have been in that moment to say, I'm sorry, Judah, that I got mad at you.
Yeah.
Hunter, I know that that's a problem, but I'm working through it. It's been rough. You take a turn as the punching bag?
I get to, on our radio shows, I get to interview a marriage expert, and his name is Dr. Greg Smalley. And I asked him about it because might as well get some free therapy, as we're about to talk about. I pay for it too. So he said that one of the best things to do when you've had any kind of blow up in your marriage or friendship, anything, is that you need to get away by yourself and figure out what was going on. So I kind of did it right, except that I didn't figure out what was going on. I just distracted myself with my phone, but he said there's always something underneath of it. And it could be as simple as I'm really hungry and tired, and this was a result of that. Or for me, we'll talk about this in our counseling segment later. It was so much deeper, and it had to do with the season of life that I'm in. But he said once you know that, then you can deal with that between you and God, but then you can go to the person you've blown up at and genuinely say, like, how did that affect you? And I'm so sorry, and hear them, and then go, are you okay with me explaining why I think it happened?
Yeah.
And like having that answer ready. I didn't do any of these things
Sure.
right.
But it's interesting because, going to be by yourself wasn't the wrong thing. The wrong thing was disassociating for a little bit and not confronting the issue. That's interesting because it is always, it's a good exercise to figure out what the right thing to do is. And sometimes it's not cut and dry, but I love that he was able to examine that situation, and now you have this tool for the future. Also, this brings up a bit of feedback that I got from the podcast in my personal life.
What?
I asked my husband, what did you think? And his first response was, does Joy get offended that you call yourself a dog mom? And I'm like, it was her idea. She's the one that calls me it. And the reason I bring that up is because when you were talking about trying to get him to brush his teeth, my first thought was dental chews. And then I'm like, that's not a thing for babies. That's for dogs.
Girl, but also probably there's a lot that goes into all that stuff. Dental care for your dog, too.
But I can give her a dental chew. And
That's
also,
right.
I take her to a groomer to get her nails done.
Is there not a groomer for babies? I mean, someone start that. And I want to throw back, if you want to hear the whole conversation with that marriage expert, because there's even more helpful advice that I haven't lived
than
out.
dental chews.
And I have not articulated it. Text the word Greg, Greg, to 91979, and you can hear that. I need to know your mess of the week.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Let me start by saying there are two kinds of people in the world. There are dazzle doves and there are awkward turtles.
What's a dazzle dove?
You, my friend, are a dazzle dove.
I'm sorry, what?
You make a great first impression. You get this all the time. I know you do. You walk into a room, everyone's like, Joy, let's talk about life. Like, we love you. Like, you just know how to talk to humans. And then there's me.
Wait, you're an awkward turtle?
I'm an awkward turtle. Oh, hands down. I'm the kind of person that once you get to know me, I think I'm funny and kind of charming, but I don't make a good first impression because I don't remember how to human.
Okay.
This was an issue this week because we have a new CEO at Way FM.
Yes.
So important person coming into the building.
Yes.
And I was already stressed the night before. I was like,
I can't believe that.
I don't make a good first impression. I don't know what to do. How do I talk to man?
That probably is where it goes wrong. That you are, if you're already stressed about it, anyone acts nervous under a stress pressure.
Well, then I see him coming around, and I never thought we'd talk about bodily functions on this podcast, but it's necessary for this story.
Get ready.
When I am nervous, I get gassy. And I had just had a moment of that. No! As he's coming around, I see him coming. It's like a doomsday clock. I see him going door to door to door to meet people, and I'm like,
You're
I'm
in
next.
A closed room?
I'm next in my tiny closed room.
Jesus, help!
Where I just passed gas.
No.
So that's how this interaction started. So I'm like, okay.
I'm so embarrassed.
You have to get out ahead of it. So I see them coming, and I swing open the door, which is a little disarming. You could see them take a step back.
Hello, sir.
Why is this woman just springing out of this room? And the CEO, and they're so kind. They're such great people. Yeah. I'm just not the great person. So he's like, oh, hey, and I'm wearing a mask. So I think he picked up on the hint that I'm trying to be more cautious. So he extends a fist bump, and I give him my elbow.
Please tell me you didn't.
It would be one thing if I elbow bumped his fist, but I went for his elbow as he continued to outstretch his fist.
So you went around the fist and tried to tap the elbow? Jesus, help us.
His elbow wasn't even bent. And so then my internal panic is just at an 11. And I am not sure what they're saying, but my brain is like, small talk. You can do this. Small talk.
What did you choose?
Weather, travel plans. And so I blurted out, when are you leaving? You leaving today? Which sounded probably very aggressive.
Upon meeting him, you said, when do you leave?
Are you leaving today? Like, get out of here. And then I don't even remember his answer because the next thing I know, our other boss is ushering him away. Like, this is just a tour, Becca. Like, we're not here for social time. And I'm like, well, thank goodness, because I failed about 8 different ways.
I feel like we should go over some topics you can talk about.
Okay. Let's pretend that I'm meeting you for the first time.
Okay. You immediately.
Hello, madame.
Okay.
Nope.
I mean, so bad. You like want to establish something you have in common.
Okay.
So normally I start with like a visual and try to figure something out.
Oh,
But
I have eyeballs. You have eyeballs.
wow.
Stare him down.
You know what? This is going to have to be a different podcast. I can't even go here with her right now.
No. I really want to know. How do you dazzle, Dove? Please tell me.
I think you find something in common. So they were like middle age. So
I'm not.
right, but that means that what does that mean? They might have kids, they might have elderly parents.
Yes.
And it's always safe to be like, so where did you grow up? Where do you live now? Just so, and then you use that for your follow-up questions.
And I think maybe where I went wrong, because I don't think it was necessarily bad on the travel tip of like, oh, how long are you in town? Maybe would have been a normal question, but my brain just contorts it. So you're like, oh, ask about their family. I would be like, do your children love you? I can't compute.
Because I sure don't. Oh my word. Oh, Bekah. And thank goodness they were so nice. I'm sure
They
they
were
really
so nice.
Here's what I can say. Bekah looked fly on that day because we both showed up
in our blazers.
One blazer that we
Yep.
own because we work in radio and we're pretty casual and we're like, oh, someone important's coming. And we both showed up and I was like, girl, your pink blazer. She was like, your gray blazer. We looked fantastic.
Can't make up for gas though. I'll tell you that much.
No. Girl, that was so honest.
It was rough.
I'm embarrassed for you, but I'm sure they loved you.
Well, they will get to love me, but it's going to take some time. For now, he's just going to look at me and be like, well, there's that smelly girl that shoved her elbow in my face. On to more serious things and way more important things, what we learned in therapy. And Joy, you are in the hot seat today.
I literally feel like I'm about to teach you, so get ready.
Ooh.
Pen and paper. No,
Okay.
you don't have to do that.
No.
But okay, what I learned in counseling has been so beneficial that I just keep passing it on to people in my life. So I know this is going to help you because we talked about our window of tolerance. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't, no.
Well, I guess people also call it your comfort zone. And so when you're in your window of tolerance and your comfort zone, when tough stuff happens in your life, your body has the ability to calm itself down. You can soothe yourself.
Okay.
But if you're out of that tolerance, you can go out, which is like above it, or you can go underneath of it.
So explain to me what being out of your tolerance zone means. Does that mean if something happens that just makes you uncomfortable or?
Well, I'll give you the symptoms. This is
Okay.
what really helped me because I was telling my counselor that I've almost been feeling on the verge of like depressed the last couple of days. And I was like, how do I know? Because I've dealt with depression before. And she asked me about the symptoms. And then we talked about this. And so just keeping this in your brain that the window of tolerance is like in the middle. That's when you're in a healthy place. But if you're out of it and you've gone above it, you're going to be anxious. You're going to feel really overwhelmed. You might have emotional outbursts or be aggressive like I was with my kid. You might find yourself to be rigid, obsessive. You might fall into addictions and feel extra agitated. And what this means, it's all scientific, which I love that like science helps us understand our emotions and what's going on. And so, go ahead.
And God created us to be able to kind of pinpoint that. You know what I mean? I feel like God and how he interacts with us really plays well with science and how he created our bodies to respond to things.
Yes. And I don't know the titles. I should probably know. But we have these like lymphatic systems and all these other things. But what our body does, fight or flight.
Yeah.
And so when life is super stressful for whatever reason and you cannot calm your body down when stuff is happening, you end up going out of your comfort zone. And so you might feel all those different symptoms, anxious and overwhelmed, but that's your fight or flight hormones just juicing through your body. And if you're there for too long, it's unhealthy for your organs and for your body because do you remember what the thing is that fight or flight gives us?
Adrenaline?
Yeah, maybe adrenaline and then something else. But it's too much for our bodies to be under that distress for a long time. So then you drop down underneath your window of tolerance. Let me tell you about those symptoms. You start to shut down. You disconnect. You might have memory loss, flat emotions. You might disassociate. You might just feel like I'm on autopilot. I'm just going through the motions. And that's where I was when I went into counseling that day. And she said, it doesn't necessarily mean you're in like a bout of depression, but it means it's beautiful how God created us. Your body is protecting you because it cannot handle the intense stuff happening. So it's almost like your body goes into like a ball and is like, well, I'm not going to feel anything for a little while because this is a little bit bit too much. But it's a recharging, which is encouraged me because I thought, am I going to be like this forever until I figure out all the skills I need to be in my window of tolerance? And she said we don't know how long, everybody's different, but your body almost recharges and then comes back. And you're like, so it might be that way for a week or 2 weeks. And I noticed that I'm in a better place now. I think I'm probably back in my window of tolerance, but I wanted to help you. Because I told my mom about this because we the same. And she's like, well, what do I do to get back in my window of tolerance? So here's the things that help. Mindfulness. These are all things that you would learn if you went to therapy. Slow, deep breathing. Breathing can quickly bring you back, and recognizing your limiting beliefs. This is what I struggle with. I'm a worst case scenario person. Are you? As an Enneagram 4?
I can be, yes.
You can be. And so for me, she said, like, imagine the best case scenario. I'm making big decisions in my life right now. And I was like, I haven't thought of that. What could go right? Are you
literally
kidding me?
last thing on my mind?
No, it really is. So she says, recognize your limiting beliefs and make new choices. And so those are the kind of things that you practice in therapy. If you're like, what do you even do? You figure out where you need help, and then you practice and you talk about stuff. So that's what I learned. It's been super helpful because I go in and out of these, and it just helped me to go, oh, I'm like super stressed and I'm out of my window of tolerance. I need to like stop and breathe for a few minutes, or I need to like go for a walk, or I need to start thinking about what could go right in this situation. And always I need to pray about this and say, like, God, my body can't handle the stress it's under. And know that if you're disconnected, it's not going to stay that way forever. Your body's just helping you.
It's good. And it's good to pay attention to those signals. And I think you get better at noticing when that comes on. I'm sure now that you've learned that, you can now recognize it next time. I want to share just a couple quick practical things that have helped me. First of all, I always thought like meditation was of the devil. Like I thought that was one thing we don't touch, but I had two different Christian counselors suggest it to me. And it really is just mindfulness. It's just focusing on calming your mind down. They even have, I don't have the names of them in front of me, but they have meditation apps.
The Calm app, I love.
I love the Calm app. They also have ones that include scripture with it, which I think is really beautiful. So there are programs out there to just kind of, it's just a voice that like walks you through, okay, we're going to empty our brain for a second.
And be in our body in this moment right now.
There are seasons of my life where I can't sleep without doing one of those little meditation sessions right before bed. The second thing that is more helpful like in the moment is there are different breathing tactics you can Google. One I love is box breathing, where I'll inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Hold for 4 seconds. So it's just, and to me, sometimes it's like if I'm only focusing on my breathing, it just helps the rest of me calm down. And Joey, my husband, will see me like breathing deeply, and he's like, okay, like just take a second, do what you need to do.
Leave her alone. Yeah. Let her count.
But those are just some of the tools that have been helpful for me. And as you kind of notice, you know, what Joey was talking about, what it looks like as you drop out of that zone of tolerance?
Window of tolerance. Comfort zone. Yeah.
Comfort zone to be able to maybe employ one of those that works best for you.
Absolutely. I hope that's helpful. It's really made a difference for me. I can even see it in other people. And I just think information is power when you feel overwhelmed.
Yeah. All right. On to our mess and bless of the week. My mess of the week has to do with Elon Musk. I didn't know this. He's on track to be the first trillionaire.
Oh, I'm scared of him, honestly.
He seems terrifying.
If he turns evil or if he already is, we're in big trouble.
I want to be surprised. But he owns Tesla and SpaceX. But he's getting attention right now because a 19-year-old college kid has a Twitter account called Elon Musk's Jet. And the whole thing it does is track Elon Musk's plane.
How does he track it?
So he works with like air traffic control and different, because all of that stuff is public information, flight plans, but he's figured out some kind of algorithm to just know where Elon Musk is at all times.
That's so scary.
It is scary. But this is where, this is my mess. Jeff Bezos is actually my mess of the week because, or not Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk.
They're all rich men.
Getting my billion. They're all the same person. Elon Musk is my mess of the week because he told the kid, like, hey, you have to shut this down. And the kid is like, how about for a Model 3, Tesla Model 3? I'll shut it down. I think that's genius. No, listen. If you have a security risk, okay, this is where this comes from. My husband is a super genius, and he actually exploited a company once to have them pay him to fix a security security print.
How old was he? Was this like last year?
This was last year.
Oh my word! He was so bored in the pandemic.
Well, he had lost his job, so it started there, and he knew about the security feature, and it was a major security flaw. And so he sent them an email being like, "Hey, I know about this. I will tell you about it if you pay me." And so they're like, "If you can prove it to us, we'll give you this money." And he did, and they fixed it, and they paid him.
Oh,
so I'm not
my
saying.
word.
I mean, it's an ethical gray area, but I do think that if someone is smart enough to figure it out, shouldn't you reward that? You don't agree with me at all.
No, I'm just sitting here thinking of what we can call your cybersecurity business that you and your husband are going to start because you figured out all this stuff on my Instagram.
That's
and things.
true. That's so true.
And now your husband's exploiting companies' flaws. I just think that you should start it.
This podcast is going to get us arrested. I'm starting to
Don't let anyone in law enforcement listen to this.
So anyway, Elon Musk eventually came back with 5,000. The kid says, no, that's still not okay. I don't know where it stands today, but I think that Elon Musk should be at least be like, you know what, kid? I'll give you an internship.
Yes.
You know, something.
That's way more valuable than a car. That kid should be using it for networking opportunities.
Yes.
Okay, my mess of the week feels very close to home. I don't know if you saw that there was a all-out brawl in a Golden Corral. 40 people were injured.
I don't know. I've never seen 40 people inside a Golden Corral, first of all.
You've never been in a Golden Corral then. Girl, see, I grew up in the backwoods of West Virginia. We always went to the Golden Corral. It's so full. The rolls are magical. And people get so aggressive in there. I mean, people were tossing tables and throwing the chairs. And here's what happened. There was a lack of steak at the buffet.
That's the only reason?
I'm a nice person.
Wait.
You tell me I'm getting a steak and I don't. That joy from the beginning of the podcast comes out of me punching walls.
But is it everyone fighting with the cooks or is it just everyone angry?
They fought with each other because
Okay.
somebody cut in line and then someone's steak wasn't cooked right and then they ran out of steaks, which they do that randomly. You have to wait for the meat. I will say Golden Corral is delicious. It's still a buffet, which really should go away post-pandemic.
Yeah. But you get to put cheese on everything, which is I'm a big fan of.
And they have great desserts. Now I want to go to one. This was in Pennsylvania, but it's really not that far from where I grew up in West Virginia. So a lot of people were injured. And all I have to say is, don't run out of steak. This is on Golden Corral. Like, you need to get it together.
Yeah.
No one's seriously injured, thank God, because that would be embarrassing to be like, I broke this arm over a roll at the Golden Corral, but it makes perfect sense to me.
My husband and I were joking the other day. We were like, do you think that ER doctors have like bingo sheets that they keep of the most bizarre injuries?
I wonder. Okay, let's quick for a second think about if you were in a Golden Corral, what would cause you to get angry? What food being out? Or
Nacho cheese. I made that joke, but I legitimately, when I would go to buffets, it'd be nacho cheese on the broccoli and on the steak and on the dessert. Why not? Nacho
Bekah.
cheese.
She has a ranch with a pump and the nacho cheese.
I love it. And so when you said that there was a brawl at the Golden Corral, I immediately started craving nacho cheese. So
oh, wow.
that's what it would be for me. What about you?
Cheesecake.
See?
Still cheese.
We have our priorities.
Amen.
On to our bless of the week. Mine is going to be another one that I think might confuse people, but my bless is, this happened a few weeks ago now, but Wordle, the online game that everyone's been obsessed with.
Yes, I've not played it. Tell me what you think.
It's fun. It's easy. It's just like a quick thing. I do it every morning.
Do you
and
win
it's just
money?
Fun. No. It's just very. We're gonna do it after the podcast.
Doing this?
We're gonna do it after the podcast.
Time is money. I don't have time for that.
But it became this phenomenon, and it got sold to the New York Times. Now, most people are really upset about this because that means eventually it will no longer be free. It's completely free right now.
Okay.
But this is why it's my bless. I don't know if you knew this, but the guy who created it did it because his girlfriend just loved word games and had run out of them. And so he created this word game for her, and she loved it so much that he then made it public. And now he gets to make $1 million from it. And I saw a tweet on this that just really warmed my heart. Someone said he made a game for his partner because she loved word games. Then he shared it with all of us for nothing. Now he gets $1 million unexpected dollars because he loved someone.
Oh my goodness.
Look, I get it's frustrating that it's not going to be free anymore eventually, but I think that's a really beautiful thing that he did something that he's like, I'm an engineer. I love this person so much, so I'm going to do something for her. And it was not with the intention of profit.
Wow.
But it turned into that. And I think that's really special.
It's probably bad that I'm like, only $1 million, dude?
They said 7 figures. So it could be million.
I hope it is. He deserves that. Girl, that's such a beautiful spin on that story.
I know. Everyone else is like, but you took him a Wordle away. I'm like, but it's for love.
Can you tell she's on Enneagram 4? She's about the emotion. So my bless of the week is actually from my real life. I went into Starbucks yesterday and there was nowhere to sit. And I had my laptop. So I was like looking around and this older man like waved me to his table because there was a chair across from him. And I normally would just be like, no, but I needed to get some work done.
And I'm guessing when you say older man, was it like creepy old man or sweet grandpa old man?
Sweet grandpa.
Because we, as women, we know the difference.
Absolutely. And so I was like, oh, no, it's okay. And he's like, no, sit. So I pull up a chair and I meet 82-year-old Art, whose birthday was yesterday. And he is legitimately, I think, an angel in real life who was just sitting there because he pulls out all these pieces of paper from his pocket and there's nothing on them. And he just fans them out and he says, choose one. And I was like, what is that? You're a fortune teller? Like, what is this? So I pick one and I'm like, I don't know if he's going to have me write on it. And I flip it over. They're actually all Bible verses.
Aww.
And check out what I picked out. It says, give all your worries and cares to God, for he cares about you.
After everything we've discussed in this podcast, after everything you're going through in therapy, to just get that reminder at that moment?
It was so perfect that I said, Art, how did you know I needed this one? And he goes, I don't know. That's just how God works. And he goes, I gave one to a girl at Sprouts the other day when I was checking out, and she started crying instantly. He said, God's word does not return void. If everybody would just pass out Bible verses wherever they go, imagine what God could do in this world. And I was like, Art, we need more men like you.
This is going to make me sound really cynical, but there's a small part of me that wonders if every single Bible verse is the give all your worries to God. Because
I wondered that too.
That everyone is worried right now.
He said that it's not, because he told me a couple of different verses people got. But at first I did wonder the same thing. I was like, are they all about worry and we're in a pandemic?
But honestly, like if that is the trickster thing that he's doing, you are. Like trick people into getting the Bible verse that says don't worry, because we could all use it.
Absolutely. And he did have a critique for our radio station. Oh. He wanted to know what I did, and we talked about a lot of things. He thinks we need to play Bob Dylan because Bob Dylan loved Jesus, and he had me listen to a Christian Bob Dylan song. I don't know if this is controversial. I hated Bob Dylan's voice. I hated it. I was like, oh, Art, I only got time. So that's what he wants, and I'm not going to do it. Sorry, Art. I just love you.
Thanks so much for listening. If you got something out of this episode, would you consider sharing it with a friend and leaving us a review? If you have anything you'd like to share with us, you can email holymess@wayfm.com. And thank you so much for being a part of our messy family.